기자부대, hop on the beat!
Welcome back to another installment of me going over every music reference in the JoJo series. Part 6 is a story with a ton of characters, and by extension, it's full of music references. This time around though, rather than music references, the names of the characters are largely based on famous fashion designers or brands, with a few exceptions. Regardless, there's still a lot to go over just from the stands alone, and a few extra along the way. Our first reference is with the main character, Jolene Cujo. Her name may be a reference to the song Jolene by Dolly Parton. During the fight with Gwess, there's a scene where she repeatedly calls out Jolene's name, possibly referencing the song. Jolene's stand, Stone Free, is based on a song by Jimi Hendrix. Next we have Hermes Costello. Her name may be referencing the British musician Elvis Costello. Her stand seems to be named after the American rock band Kiss. The Green Dolphin Street Prison is named after the 1947 jazz song On Green Dolphin Street. Gwess's stand is referencing the American band Goo Goo Dolls. Jangali A's stand was Manhattan Transfer, based on the American jazz band. Our main villain Poochie's stand was named after the rock band Whitesnake. The 20th chapter of the part is titled Prisoner of Love, which could be referencing the popular 1930 song Prisoner of Love by Russ Columbo. It may also be referencing a song of the same name by Kiss. The 23rd chapter was actually originally titled Another One Bites the Dust, referencing the song by Queen. Unlike the reference that appeared in Part 4, which was written in English, the chapter title here is written to match the localized Japanese title of the song. McQueen's stand, Highway to Hell, is referencing a song and album by AC/DC. Emporio's stand is Burning Down the House, referencing a song by Talking Heads. Foo Fighters is based on the American rock band of the same name. During the Foo Fighters arc, the characters wear explosive bracelets named Like a Virgin. This is referencing a popular song by Madonna. One of Araki's doodles in the 4th volume is based on the cover of the album Light Years by the Australian singer Kylie Minogue. In his author's note for chapter 48, Araki also mentions listening to her music. He previously referenced Minogue in part 3 when Holly sings the song The Locomotion in the manga, which she did a popular cover of in the 1980s. The stand of Mira-Shan was named after the American musician Marilyn Manson. Weather Report and his stand are both named after the American jazz band Weather Report. Weather's design, particularly his fuzzy hat with horns, may be referencing the Buffalo Man, a character that appears on the album covers of the English band Jamiroquai. Lang Wrangler's stand was Jumpin' Jack Flash, named after a song by the Rolling Stones. This song was previously referenced in Part 3 by one of Avdol's attacks, with the lyrics of the song containing the phrase Crossfire Hurricane. The pigeon that retrieves Jotaro's memory disk was named after the Australian pop duo Savage Garden. The song I Want You by Savage Garden was also later used as the ending theme for Part 4's anime adaptation. Sports Max's stand was named after the American band Limp Bizkit. Anasui's stand was Diver Down, based on an album by Van Halen. Gucci's stand was named after the band Survivor. The stand of the guard Viviano Westwood is called Planet Waves, based on an album by Bob Dylan. In the original Shonen Jump publication, the stand was instead named Earth, Wind, and Fire after the band of the same name. This reference was previously used by the ability of Miki Taka in Part 4. The name was changed to Planet Waves with the part's volume release. The stand Dragon's Dream is an interesting one, since in my past series I erroneously said this was a reference to the album The Dragon's Dream by Tom Brennan. I originally got this idea from searching up lists of references back when I made those original videos. However, as it turns out, this album was unfinished and never actually released, which along with already being obscure in the first place, makes it not possible for this to be the reference. Why it was ever considered in the first place is most likely from people just searching the name of the stand with song and choosing whatever pops up first. What it is actually a reference to is more likely Roger Dean's publishing company of the same name. As I mentioned in the previous video, Roger Dean is the artist for many of the album covers of the bands Yes and Asia. Araki has previously referenced the bands that he did art for, as well as the art itself, which he pays homage to in multiple parts. So it's most likely that Araki found the name in a book of Dean's art and used it based on that. DNG's stand Yo-Yo Ma is based on the famous cello player Yo-Yo Ma. In one scene of this arc, Yo-Yo Ma mentions having an REM sticker referencing the American rock band. In Chapter 84, Pucci uses a disc to force Guccio to sing the Hallelujah chorus of Handel's Messiah, specifically the 1983 composition by John Eliot Gardiner. The stand of the Green Baby is named after the song Green Green Grass of Home, originally sung by Peter Wagoner and later popularized by Tom Jones. In the anime, the stand catch art of Green Green Grass of Home has a pose that appears to be referencing the cover of the Nirvana album Nevermind. In the flashback in Chapter 94, Dio mentions having watched a Michael Jackson concert on TV. One of the 14 phrases written in Dio's diary is Desolation Row, based on a song by Bob Dylan. They also repeat the phrase Rhinoceros Beetle 4 times, possibly referencing the 4 members of the Beatles. Mew Mew's stand is Jailhouse Lock, named after the song Jailhouse Rock by Elvis Presley. On the cover of Volume 12, Jolene is wearing a button with the name of the band, R.E.M. Ungalo's stand, Bohemian Rhapsody, is named after the song by Queen. Rikiel's stand, Sky High, is named after the song by Jigsaw. The stand of Versus is named after the English band Underworld. Weather Report's hidden ability was called Heavy Weather, based on an album of the same name by Weather Report. Sea Moon was named after the song Sea Moon by Paul McCartney and Wings. The stand Made in Heaven is named after the Freddie Mercury song and Queen album of the same name. In the original publication, the stand was instead named Stairway to Heaven based on the song by Led Zeppelin. The final chapter of Part 6 is named What a Wonderful World based on the song by Louis Armstrong. Finally, we come to the credits theme for the part, the 2008 song Distant Dreamer by the Welsh singer Duffy. Like the other credits themes, this one was chosen personally by Araki. In a 2022 interview with Vogue Plus, he said that the song made him picture Jolene and the prison. And that's every music reference in Stone Ocean. Out of all the parts I've covered, this one probably has the least amount to talk about since most of the references are just limited to the stand names. But I do still like the selection here, and I feel like the genres of music are actually pretty unique when compared to other parts. Next time we'll be moving on to Part 7, one of the longest JoJo parts and the one that contains by far the most music references. In the meantime, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and click the bell. You can also join the Hum and Beat Discord to get notified about any new videos. Finally, I'd appreciate if you support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube member. All supporters get their name featured at the end of the video and can submit patron questions. This video's question comes from Arios. They ask, since the majority of JoJo chapters get name changes with the volume releases, what are some chapters where I prefer the originals? Well, if you didn't already know, it's just like this person says, almost every chapter in JoJo was called something else when they first released, and many were changed later on, mostly to group them together by arc. And I do think there's a lot of good chapter names that are lost here. Really, I'd just say that I prefer almost all of the original names, since those each have something unique to say about each chapter, instead of just being Name of Stand Part 1, Part 2, and so on. Most recently, there are some chapter titles for the JoJo lands that I felt let down by. The first chapter of the JoJo lands was titled Mechanism, which if you know Part 9 is just a perfect name for it. But with the volume, they changed it to Departure, which I don't even get as a name for what happens in that chapter since they don't even depart until the second chapter. On the other hand, some chapter names are improved, usually with standalone chapters. For example, the chapter in Part 5, Beneath a Sky on the Verge of Falling, was originally called The Power of Will, and I definitely prefer the changed version. If you want to submit a question, you can become a patron or member at any tier. Patrons can send them in my Patreon page's community chat, and members can comment them under the members-only community post. I try to answer one question per video, so if you join, feel free to leave as many as you want, since they're all likely to be answered. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons and members. Thank you to Sloth Dog, Doorbell, Crayon, Rigovids, Zukato, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Almighty Quarth, Gatling Grove, Sponge Cake, Cakext, Feliciano Rabaja, Rayana Meme, Christian McDonough, Emmanuel Etienne, Pulse Dog, Zach Greenfield, FIFO, Rob Goliath, Jacob Smith, Big T, Sea Manga, Minty, Gold, Red Hot Mayonnaise, Jolene, Monticelli, Zenkai, Royal Slush, Chongo, Keenan, Perry, Noland, Miguel Antonio, John Braun, Cho Henshin, Saint Bobo, Max Verstappen, and Kira Not Yoshikage.